How that woman could cook her food was like grand opera sound. Why, you could give her dining room table one look, right away you gain 7 pounds. A sick man could eat himself well pretty quick. And when he got well, he ate himself sick. And her pies, without question, would cure in this Pepson. Oh, God, how that woman could cook.
Hi, and welcome back to my kitchen again for another episode of Gina's Good Looking Cooking. Today we're going to be making one of my favorites. I haven't made it in a while. Actually, my daughter Jennifer was boasting that her husband had made this dish last week, and it made me so hungry for it. So today we're going to be making Italian sausage with onions and peppers. And a lot of people ask me, how do I manage to cook for two? And I've struggled with that for so long. And I finally found the secret to cooking for two. And that is to stop trying, because it's absolutely impossible. So I cook like I always have. I cook a big meal. But I finally learned another secret. At least the secret for Mike and I is leftover night never happens. Figure out that the freezer is your friend. Cook once and eat it twice. This is definitely a meal that you can do that with and turn it into something completely different the second time. I'm making tonight for dinner the sausage with onions and peppers, and I'm going to freeze half of it and put that in the freezer. Maybe in the next week or so we'll call soup and sandwich night. And we'll have sausage and pepper and onion subs with maybe some minestrone. Tonight I've got a package of fresh cheese tortellini and a jar of sauce, and it's pasta night. Pasta night doesn't always have to be spaghetti or Alfredo. This is a way to get vegetables in. It's delicious. So here's everything you're going to need to make this dish, and I hope you try it, and I know you'll love it. 1 package Italian sausage, 2 tablespoons olive oil, 1 large or 2 medium yellow onions, 4 cloves garlic, 1 large red bell pepper, 1 green bell pepper, 1/4 cup white wine. Oregano and thyme are optional ingredients. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get our sausage sliced up. We're going to cook that first. I like to slice it first. That way it kind of gets a little brown, crispy on the surface, and it also cooks a lot of the fat out. So I'm going to start my skillet and then come back and get the sausage sliced right away. We want that to get screaming hot, so I've got it on pretty high, and we'll add some olive oil right before we throw this in. And I also like to slice my sausage on the diagonal. That gives me a nice surface to get browned, instead of just a little thin straight across slice. It's just a preference of mine. It's not a rule by any means. This is a package of 5 links. It's a little over a pound. Just however you choose to buy it. 5 or 6 sausage would be great for this. And it does freeze so well. So that's definitely a plus for this recipe. And it is how I turn my way of cooking into cooking for two. And like I said, leftover night just never works for us. We have the grandest of plans for it. I stick everything in the fridge and something always comes up. Something happens that just doesn't sound good and food gets wasted. And that's frustrating. And if I just wanted to throw money away, there's lots of other things that I could do. So I finally figured out that the freezer is your friend. We are always looking for convenience foods, weeknight meals, after school, after practice. This is definitely one of those. It's a fabulous first night dinner, either way you choose. Like I said, tonight we're going to be having pasta. I'm opening up a jar of my sauce that I made earlier this year and canned with some cheese tortellini, and it's going to be a wonderful pasta night. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to find some crusty, delicious sub rolls, and it's going to be subs and soup one night. There's so many different things that you can do with this. I hope that you all give it a try. The skillet looks like it's starting to get nice and hot. Almost done slicing the sausage now. I find it's easier to slice if it's almost frozen. Not hard, but chilled really firmly. This has gotten a little cool, but it's done now, and I'm going to throw it in the skillet. I'll be right back. All right, that's going to have to cook off in batches. So while we're waiting for that first pan to get ready, I'm going to go ahead and start chopping up the onions and the peppers. And this week at the grocery store, the red and the green look the best and were also the best price. So that's what I bought. You know, whatever you choose, whatever looks beautiful and delicious, feel free to mix your own peppers. I don't throw away any of my vegetable scraps. I have a bag in the freezer, and I save every bit of it. Onion peels, garlic peels, the pepper cores. When I get a bag full, I put it in a pan on the stove with about 4 cups of water. Let it come to a boil and simmer, and I've got my own fresh vegetable stock. I always look for ways to get as much out of what I buy as possible, and also add as much flavor to our foods as possible. And your own homemade stocks are just a wonderful way to do that. You know what you're getting. You control the salt. No artificial ingredients. Just a couple of hours of your time once the Ziploc gets full. So don't throw it away. And don't worry about the peels. A stock or a broth is something that you strain anyway. So it's all full of flavor and nutrients. And again, that's how we get to eat the things we love without worrying so much, because the things that we eat all the time, we make better for ourselves. So I've got the rest of this onion to peel. I'm just going to slice these up in nice thin slices. I need to flip the sausage here in just a couple more minutes. So I'll keep chopping, and I'll meet you back here in a few. Welcome back. The sausage is all browned, and I've got it over here draining on paper towels. I'm also blotting it on the top. It is pretty fatty, but it's all crispy and browned and delicious, and all this excess fat coming out. I poured off all the fat out of the pan and wiped it out with a paper towel. Now I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil and start the onions and peppers. I'd say probably a couple of tablespoons of oil at best. And we'll get the onions in. This pan that I'm cooking in today is one of my prized possessions, actually. It was handed down to me from my grandmother. And I come from a long line of wonderful cooks, but like I said, we don't cook for two. And I was taught by the best. So this is my solution. I cook a really good meal, and I just figure out a way to turn it into something else a little later. Package it, freeze it, and trust me, I have those I don't want to cook days just like everybody else. But when an Italian sausage and onion and pepper sub is just a few minutes away, why in the world would I order a pizza? So again, that's my secret. That's my answer. I don't know if it will work for you, but I hope that you at least give these recipes a try. Feed a group. Make yourself lunch all week. They are delicious. So I'm going to let the onions cook down a little bit longer. Then I'll throw the peppers in. I've got my garlic chopped here. As far as the herbs go, they are totally optional. I grow my own herbs in my backyard, so I use every opportunity I can to throw them in dishes. It's just more flavor. You could use dried. Remember, dried herbs are stronger than fresh, so use a small amount, taste it, and then add more as needed. The same with salt and pepper in this recipe. It's an as-needed ingredient. I did buy the spicy hot sausage because Mike and I both do like food spicy. I'm even at some point going to add a little extra crushed red pepper to this because we like it spicy, but feel free to get the mild or sweet sausage. It doesn't matter. You know, this is another one of those recipes that's really easy to adapt. So I'm going to keep cooking down these veggies. It's going to take about 20 minutes or so total because you really want them to cook down. You want them to caramelize and release their natural sweetness. And at that point, we'll add the sausage back in. We're going to throw some wine in. I'm going to start some water boiling over here. I have a package of cheese tortellini and some red sauce. Then we're going to have pasta night tonight. We'll be back in a bit. The onions and the peppers have cooked down. They're getting nice and brown and delicious. Another tip when you're using fresh herbs, most of the time I just throw it in whole. I don't like to sit and chop the teeny tiny things. It just is annoying to me. And in this especially, I really just wanted the flavor in these vegetables. So now that they've served their purpose, I'm just going to go ahead. It's really easy. Just pull the stems out. And we're ready now. These, like I said, have cooked down nice and soft and brown. We're going to put the sausage in. Add a little salt and pepper. A pinch of red pepper flakes and about 1/4 cup of a white wine. And let this all come back up to temperature. I've got water heating to boil my pasta. I just have a packaged fresh pasta. I like to keep an assortment of pastas in my freezer and pantry. Sometimes just changing shapes is fun. So we've got cheese tortellini and red sauce and these delicious Italian sausage with peppers and onions. Just a pinch of salt. A little bit of black pepper. And because we like it spicy, a nice sprinkle of crushed red pepper. One more sprig I missed. Give that all a turn. We're going to add about 1/4 cup of white wine. Just kind of makes this nice sauce to coat everything with. If you were going to serve this straight over pasta, it would be delicious on top of a linguine or a nice thick pasta, maybe a fettuccine. Add a little more wine. Add a little chicken broth. It just is a delicious meal any way you fix it. So we're just going to let this sit here and simmer now for a few minutes. My water is almost up to a boil. I'm going to drop the pasta in it and we'll have dinner in a flash. The pasta's almost done. I'm taking the sausage and all the juice out of the skillet. It's heavy and hot. Be careful. Now when the pasta's done, I'm going to throw it over here in the skillet, pour a little bit of sauce on it, get that nice and hot, and dinner is ready. It takes a little bit of time. There's a little preparation involved in the chopping, but you get 2 meals. You're cooking this, you would be doing the same thing if you were only making half this recipe. So take advantage of it. You're either feeding your family or you're feeding 2 twice with 2 different meals. And I think that's the secret. Leftovers are leftovers. It's exactly what it was on Thursday night as it was on Monday. But a dish like this, like I said tonight, it's with a pasta and a red sauce. In a couple of weeks, it'll be with hoagie rolls as a sub and maybe a nice soup. So it's all about reimagining instead of just having leftovers. The pasta's done now. Turn that off and let it drain. A pasta pot is great. If you don't have one, I would recommend trying it. There's nothing more frustrating than trying to run across the kitchen with a pan full of boiling water and pasta to trip over a dog, or the kids come running through and it's just a recipe for disaster. So give a pasta pot a try. Sometimes a ladleful of that starchy pasta water is all that it takes to pull a sauce together and make it get nice and thick. So don't just pour it down the drain. Wait until you see if you need it or not. So we're just drying this out a little bit in the skillet, tossing it around. I'm letting it pick up any bits of flavor that are left in the bottom of the pan. Now just a little bit of sauce. Jarred, homemade, doesn't matter. Let this get nice and hot and dinner is ready. We'll see you back in a minute. So here we go. This is cooking for 2 times 2. Tonight we have Italian sausage with peppers and onions, a cheese tortellini, a nice red sauce. I grated some Parmesan cheese with the coarse side of my grater, so I'd be sure and get a nice salty bite to go with the sweet caramelized vegetables and tomato sauce. I have another container of sausage with onions and peppers, all ready to go in the freezer to turn into something wonderful another night. So there you go. That's the answer to the question. That's my secret, how to cook for 2. Stop trying and cook the way you cook. Take advantage of your freezer, and I hope you enjoy this dish. I'll see you again soon for another episode of Gina's Good Looking Cooking.
How that woman could cook her food was like grand opera sound. Why, you could give her dining room table one look, right away you gain 7 pounds. A sick man could eat himself well pretty quick, and when he got well, he ate himself sick, and her pies without question would cure in dyspepsia. Ah, God, how that woman could cook.